Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are my fellow Cryptopians doing on this wonderful day? We got a green day, green across the board for the most part. Big cap names leading the way higher still. Bitcoin Cash, Ripple, and a handful of other names. So we're going to take a look at the charts, guys. Thanks for being here. As always, I appreciate you guys joining me on these live streams. Let me get something to start jotting down some tickers, some symbols. I know you guys are going to have a handful of charts you want to look at, and ultimately this is for you guys. So awesome. Thanks for being here. Let me pull up the chart here, looking at the 1 hour chart of Bitcoin. So here's the plan. We will look at the big cap names. I'll kind of just go down the list. I've got a handful of names that I want to point out, and then I will certainly start taking requests and we'll go from there. But all in all, looking pretty good so far. Still feeling good about the condition of the market, the overall direction. Bitcoin is still very much in range, right? It hasn't really broken above the levels I've been watching. So we'll go into the details there. But many of the names are still looking pretty good. And we're seeing a little bit of rotation, right? For a little while, it was kind of the small cap names. And then lately, it's been the bigger caps leading the way higher. And personally, that's my preference. When the big cap names and the top of the list is leading up first and leading the way higher, just bodes well all around for the market. Just kind of shows some good depth, right, when those names are moving. And that really moves the needle in the market cap space, right? The total market cap, which a lot of people watch. So it's always good. I don't get as excited when it's like just a bunch of crap coins pumping 20%, 30%, right? I mean, it's good if you can catch some of those, but when Bitcoin and ETH and Ripple and Neo and all these good names start really moving, that's just very good all around. So we'll take a look at some of the key levels and we'll get to it. So thanks for being here. Remember to hit that like button, guys. And if you don't already, please subscribe to the channel. I'll try to do a few updates a week, if not more, and at least one live stream a week. So we'll get to it here. So, all right, let's take a look at some of the charts here, and then we'll go to some of the names you want to look at. Where is it first? This article, if you haven't read it, it's kind of a bummer article, but man, I can only imagine there was a lot of folks that were in very similar situation. I know a lot of the folks in my group early in the year, very similar type of things we were talking about here in Q1 and early Q2, but $400,000 tax bill. They made a ton last year and didn't take profits near the top. And of course, we know what happened in 2018, lost all of those profits, but still owed the tax bill. And so crazy article, sucks to read. Who knows what they're going to do, but just thought I'd point that out. Crypto trading, crypto investing, and if anything, it's just, it's a fascinating read. But what a year it's been. The 2018 bear market has certainly driven a lot of people away from the market. Those of you guys that are still here, you guys are like the diehards now, man. I was talking with somebody the other day. They were helping me with some tech support, and they were looking at my site and stuff, and they were like, "Oh, Bitcoin's at $6,000." Like, and then he fully open told me, he said, "Yeah, I bought some Bitcoin and some Ethereum right at the top, and then it went down, and haven't really looked at the prices since." And I can only imagine that there's probably a lot of people out there, right, that kind of got in near the top and has just been ignoring it because the prices are so low, but they didn't realize, oh, it's at 6,000, and kind of started telling them, hey, man, trying to find a low here. Some of the alts are moving again, and so we had a good conversation. But I would imagine that we're still the minority right now. Bitcoin certainly went mainstream. Everybody, it's a household name now, right? Everybody knows what it is, but the amount of serious money invested traders in it, I don't think is mainstream yet. We know that Wall Street's coming. There's a lot of institutional demand and all that fun stuff, but certainly I don't think it's to the level that it has the potential to be at. So just an interesting read. Taxation, yeah, don't get me started in the whole taxation thing. Oh man, feel bad for the guy, but it is what it is. But here we go. Looking at the charts here, BTC, I've been talking about this slow higher trend that we're seeing here. I've kind of been pointing this out in some of the key levels. So just very quickly to recap, we saw the beginnings of this last week when we had that big bullish reversal. And following that reversal, we had a little bit of a pullback, and I was pointing out, hey, we really want to clear this resistance. At that point, it was simply just a bounce, definitely a tradable bounce, because the volume was there, and the indicators pointed out that that was a good reversal in the shorter term. If you look at the 1 hour charts, very good bullish divergence, big volume, all that good stuff. The signs were all there. So it was definitely an entry signal for me, and started to accumulate here on the dips. And then going into the weekend, we saw the rally right to resistance before we saw a pullback, but then big spike pushed right through into the range. And yesterday we started to see that pullback, and look where it held. Very good to see that it held support right above the breakout points, above these moving averages here. And today we're starting to see that kind of move off of that low. So good news from that perspective. Ultimately, though, I want to see this thing clear some of this resistance, right? Some of the range that it's been. So this range was, pretty tight consolidation for a week and a half or so, almost 2 weeks. We're back right in that range. And so now we want to see this thing break through to the upside. Closing above that 64.40 would be good. And it's right there. I mean, it's not going to take a whole lot. Look at the daily chart. It's just sitting right below that range. So very good to see. Another positive thing is the fact that this big reversal bar is basically been negated, right? We have this move higher, and we have 2 daily closes now potentially going above that range. So very positive to see. Now we want to see some follow through, some movement to the upside. But at the end of the day, as long as Bitcoin just doesn't roll over and break below support here, I'm okay with that, because if it can continue to hold up and look well and tighten up here, we'll continue to see confidence and strength in some of the alts, which ultimately is really what I trade. I mean, I certainly hold BTC in between a lot of those trades, but the better moves are generally in the alts anyway, from a percentage basis. And so that's what I've been looking at here. But near term, those are the levels to be watching. We'll certainly keep an eye on BTC here. It could very well break out during this stream. I mean, it's looking like it wants to. If you go to the shorter term time frames, you're seeing some good volume coming in here. So let's see if it can push through here. But all in all, still holding up well. Again, at this point, now that it's tested the lows, I really don't want to see this thing retest. If it does, it may look a little double toppy. So at this point, it's better if it just continues to hold these moving averages and breaks through to the upside. Let's take a look at ETH. So I'm going to go to the USD pair and then the dollar pair here. And you know what, real quick, before I do that, because this is good, and I'm gonna go down the charts and not come out because I like to look at the charts. So very quickly, before I forget, we'll take a look at the coin market cap. Just quick recap there, some of my thoughts on that. And then want to remind everybody, go to nodeinsiders.com. There's some proprietary alerts that I use, and a lot of these are really where a lot of the names come to the radar on the forefront first. And you can see that, names like Sterling have been on the radar for a little bit now, and other names. So check that out. And for those of you that already subscribe, I'm continuing to add video courses here. And so these will ultimately be available on my Node Investor site. So if you just want to pick up the courses by themselves, you certainly can. But for those of you that subscribe, you get this for free. So I've added a few risk management courses there, some strategy stuff. And so if you haven't already seen those, go check that out. Some of the resources, training courses, and you have those for free as long as you're a subscriber here. All right, let's go to the coin market cap. So looking at the coin market cap, and I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. If you go to the last 3 months, I mean, we're certainly in the last couple of days seeing some good positive action all around. But, we're still basically around that $200 billion mark. I mean, we were here at the lows, a couple weeks ago at 200 billion. Now we're back up to almost 220. But this time last month, we were at basically the same level, right? 221, 222. So we're just kind of bouncing right back. It's good to see, no doubt. But all around, I mean, the coin market cap is just now starting to build a little bit of a low in the big picture. If you look at the alts, let me zoom that in a little bit for you guys. And this is excluding BTC, and you can certainly see the same general trend. And of course, this has been largely driven by the relative strong moves that we've seen in Bitcoin Cash and in Ripple, right? They carry the most weight in terms of the market cap picture from the alt side. So that's why you're seeing the growth there. But we're seeing, moves across the board, certainly not as strong yet, but we're seeing some moves across the board. But, the old market cap here, if you go to the zoom out, look at the last year, right? Since since the big fall. It's just kind of sitting flat, and October was just such a low, volatile month that it's good to at least finally see some movement, and it's certainly moving in the favorable direction here. Going to the market cap here, the dominance picture, you can see BTC rolling over a little bit here from a dominance perspective. Not huge, but starting to dip back down toward that 50% level as the bigger cap names increase in the dominance percentage a little bit. Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Ripple kind of carrying the most weight there. So back to the chart here. Speaking of ETH there's the Ethereum USD chart here. And someone was pointing out a potential bearish divergence here showing up on the 1 hour charts. And it's important to note that this first initial move was pretty big, especially after sitting flat for so long. So it pushed the RSI way up there, right? And it had that little consolidation. And now that it's moving higher, it's making a new high from a closing basis, but it hasn't topped yet per se. So this RSI could keep rising, right? So it looks like a divergence right now, but that's because of the longer relative consolidation. If you go to the 4 hour charts, it's still there too. You can see that, but that doesn't mean prices don't continue higher and the RSI pushes higher. So certainly worth noting, but I don't usually take that as a sell signal in and of itself. Now, earlier, I'm sure some folks got shook out or took some profits because there was a pretty good reversal and on big volume. You saw some pretty good selling pressure showing up temporarily, but we're starting to see that momentum move higher. And the thing to note is, even though it sold down a little bit, it never even touched the 10 EMA, right? So it was just a little extended in the near term. And right now, the trend is still very much in place. You can see these moving averages are moving in the right direction. They're starting to gain some momentum. And so all in all, still looking pretty good. If we go to the daily chart, let me clear those arrows for us. You can see the daily chart has plenty of room to run if it wants to. The volume is coming in. It's looking good, above average volume to the last 3 days. That's positive to see. Now we are bumping up into a little bit of a resistance zone here, which is basically where price is right now. Getting above that, clearing it here, 232 would be very positive. The daily RSI has plenty of room to run if it wants to continue to the upside. 4 hour chart, we'll get a little extended if it starts to push into that range. And ideally, we just want to see these things kind of just step their way higher. But ETH BTC is really what I want to point out here. I kind of jokingly said it's alt season. I tweeted that out a little bit. And it was kind of joking, but it was kind of serious because, I've been talking about this chart here for a little bit, looking at, ETH versus BTC and how narrow and how constrict that chart was getting, how tight and narrow that was. And I said, if Ethereum starts to outperform, generally that just bodes well for the overall altcoin market. It just signifies that, hey, the alts are going to start looking strong versus BTC. And we're seeing it, right? And so on, I think it was Saturday, both Ethereum and Litecoin had that nice little breakout versus Bitcoin. And I tweeted out, it's officially alt season. And as expected, you get mixed responses to that type of thing. But in many ways, I do feel that way because we're seeing this outperformance of these names versus Bitcoin as Bitcoin is strong, right? It'd be one thing if Bitcoin was dropping and the alts are just kind of holding up, but they're all moving in the right direction and the alts are outperforming. And that's what we like to see. And so Ethereum's still going. It is getting a little extended in the near term. RSI, little divergence there as this pushes higher. So definitely make a note of that. But, it depends on which direction you're trading. Now, me and most of the group that I'm with, right, on the Slack group, we're doing relatively quick trades, swing trades, that sort of thing. Put my thing on mute. But just remember to take profits, push your stops up along the way if you're trading these things. We all know how quickly these markets can reverse if they want to, but I'm just kind of trailing it up higher, moving the stops up as they go, but looking pretty good. Ethereum's still outperforming. Again, as I said, keep an eye on it here. It's bumping up to a little bit of a resistance zone. You can see this consolidation here. That's going to really be the first test. Definitely hitting that first target right now. Bitcoin Cash. Let's go to the USD pair here. Still going. We got Michael in the house. What's up, man? All right, so let's keep going here. Bitcoin Cash. gave us a nice secondary entry. I think I pointed this one out in the charts on the video yesterday, but it was consolidating, sitting tight here, letting these moving averages catch up, and then today big volume comes in as it pushes right through that and still going. On the daily chart, yes, it's extended, but this one has a little bit of momentum because of the fork and all that. I mean, so it's a little different from that perspective in the sense that that's really been the catalyst behind the move, and it could keep going, right? Next target on this here to the upside is that 655 level, 656 level, and it's pretty close, and it just could keep going. I mean, the momentum's there, certainly extended. RSI, look at the RSI on that daily chart is getting up there now, but that's really the next target to keep an eye on. There's still quite a bit of time before that fork, and so it's anyone's guess how long it runs before the profit taking shows up, hitting a little bit of a resistance zone. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. You can see this low back here ties in really well with this most recent high, and so that's going to be your first test, kind of heading into that 650 mark on the USD side. If we look at it from the BTC pair, I'm going to go on Bitfinex for that guy. You can see this has just been a really strong move, and let me do a fib on this here. I haven't really looked at that yet. Not quite to the 382 level here, but that lines up pretty well with with this little zone back here. That's about another 10%-ish, which it's pretty close to that USD pair resistance. So lines up well. We'll see how high it can get going before it gets another opportunity to pause. But these little pauses are nice. I mean, look at the 1 hour chart. I mean, just runs up, classic little symmetrical pattern, very tight consolidation, and then boom, breaks out, big volume breakout. So got a lot of momentum here right now. Bitcoin Cash leading the way higher. Ripple BTC was really the chart to be paying attention to before it broke out. Let me zoom out here. I'm going to go to the daily charts, and look at how tight that was here. And if you caught that video, I mean, it was a matter of time. It was just ripe for a good breakout candidate. Gave some early signals, and then of course the last couple of days has been very strong, moving up nicely. Here's the 4 hour view, just marching along, and gave a little bit of a secondary entry point here today. Here's the 1 hour view. It is extended, so certainly higher risk at this point, but you can see it's breaking out of this little trend here to see if we can keep going right now. But we're still leading the way higher. On the upside, my target was, on the daily chart, this most recent high here. It's getting pretty close to that. Let's go take a look at it on the dollar side. I'm going to go to Tether here, and let me clear some of this stuff out here for us. So looking at the dollar side here, level to be watching again is this most recent high on the closing basis, right around that 58.59 cent mark, and it came pretty close earlier, and it's just kind of sitting right below that. So has had a good move already. Would not surprise me to see a little bit of profit taking, but Bitcoin breaks out, so this one can certainly just keep moving higher. Again, higher risk here. Look at how elevated the RSI is. And so, on trades like this, I just kind of trail them up with a little bit of a stop manually, right? I'll just kind of keep moving it as the trade moves, or I take profit into strength. When I see those big spikes, those big wicks up, I generally like to sell into those, but still moving. No real big sell signals yet. There was, some pretty good volume here on this most recent hourly candle, but has since pulled back, held support, and I'll see if we can get going again. All right, so going down the list here, we did Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Bitcoin Cash, Eos, and what I'll do is I'll move down the list. I'll do the first 10, obviously excluding Tether, and then we'll just kind of jump around from there and look at a few other names. So I'll quickly go through those next few. So looking at Eos, go EOS dollar. And I'm going to do the occasional mute because I still got a little bit of a cough here that I'm fighting. So looking at EOS, now EOS had a nice breakout reversal earlier, and this one has already been stair-stepping its way higher. I didn't enter the trade on this guy until right there when it started to move off of this candle. So as it started to break out, that was really the signal for me on this pullback, but has been moving up nicely since then. And like many names that do this, let me zoom in here for you guys. you'll see this very common pattern, right? It has that breakout, pushes higher, then it gives you a pullback, and it's like a throwback right to the breakout point. But look where it held support. I mean, it held support right at the breakout point, right at these moving averages. And that was a good secondary entry point, and then just kind of took off from there. It's approaching my next target zone, which was around that 572 mark. And that's this prior resistance level back here. So it's good to see that it's back to that. Sorry, I thought I muted that. And above that, 585 is really the next level I'm looking at. A little extended here again, like some of these others. So just something to keep an eye on, just kind of trailing it up with a stop, but no real big sell signals. And on this hourly, trying to get going again. So I'm watching this little consolidation. I'd like to see this guy break higher and push another leg up. Now, if we look at the Eos Btc chart again, similar to the Ripple chart, that was really the chart I was watching here. You can see there's big consolidation. Let me zoom in here a little bit for you guys. You see this big consolidation that happened, right? That was a level that had been the area of resistance to note. And on that dollar chart, when it broke out, that was basically this point on the BTC chart. And since then, just been marching higher. So that was a nice breakout. Good volume on that breakout too. Above average volume here. You can see it above that line there. And that's just what you'd like to see. Pulled right back to those moving averages and then pushed higher. And again, this one did offer a good secondary entry point on those breakouts. So it broke out, pulled right back in, and it's just pushing higher here right now. Same thing on this one. The next target is this, 8,900 level in and around that, which we're pretty close to right now. That's another, not even 2% above. So just going to sit tight and see how it approaches that next level. But on the daily chart, I mean, these guys look like they're just getting going on the daily chart. I'd like to see some more upside. Plenty of room to run on the daily RSI. And if it can clear this resistance level, then that really could signify a good move higher. The volume's coming in, so I'd like to see this thing push right through that. But all in all, good little uptrend here. So let me scroll back through some of these comments. I know they're coming fast and quick, so I'm looking at reading and talking at the same time and looking at charts. It's not as easy as it sounds, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. Let me start jotting down some of these names before the comments get too far, and we'll go from there. One sec here. I'm going to start jotting down here. So how is everybody doing today? Have you guys jumped on any of these trades? I hope you have. So we'll look at Aeon. We'll certainly look at Lumens. I've got that on my list. Wax looking very nice today. We'll take a look at that guy. Yo, Cash Money. Got a lot of folks from the group here. Appreciate you guys being here today. Certainly look at Cardano. Buy Cardano. Thank me later. Yeah, I agree. Let's see here. One sec, guys. I'm pulling up the comments. I'm just kind of scrolling through and looking at that, and then we'll get right back to it here. So Raven. Oh, I haven't looked at that one in a little bit. We'll look at Poly, POA, some of the smaller caps. Phoenix. IOTA is on the list. ICX is on the list. Oh, yeah. AUNT is kind of showing a little bit of volume here. VeChain. Walton. And, you'll notice when we go through the list here, a lot of these names are just kind of sitting tight. And if BTC can hold up, okay, what you should expect to see is these big caps kind of lead the way higher. And as they start to pause and kind of have their move, you'll see it start rotating back into some of these other names. All right. Digibyte. Lumiere. Ethos. All right. Certainly look at OMG. That's looking pretty good. AGI. Yep. That had a big move yesterday. Let's see. Poet. Wanchain. Neo. Ooh, Stratus. All right. Take a look at that one. AE. Yep. That one's looking pretty good. We'll take a look at that guy. Some Link. All right. Zcash. ICX. Sounds like you got a lot of ICX. All right. All right. We'll pause there, guys. Let me. I've got a pretty good list here. We've got about 25 names plus the handful that I need to go through still, and then we'll go through those, and then we'll keep going. Okay. So pause on the tickers because I will probably miss them. All right. So let's keep going here. Back to the charts real quick. Going down the list here. So we looked at the first five. Let's take a look at Stellar. Stellar has had a very nice run here. I'm going to go to the BTC pair first on that guy. So looking at Stellar, again, I had a trade on this one, hit the target, just kept going. Let me pull out to the daily chart here. And this is really what I was looking at here. So Stellar, the big picture just has been setting up. Look at how symmetrical this is starting to get. And it's breaking right through that upper line here today. Now, we've seen this in the past where it has these wicks. So it's going to be interesting to see if it can hold. But it's breaking out right now from the big picture. Very nice to see. Again, we know that Coinbase has, noted this one as a potential addition to their platform. Personally, I think it's just a matter of time before they add it. And so that'll add some more fuel to this if it does happen, right? If they make that announcement. But near term, still looking very good. Definitely getting extended from the near term perspective. Even the daily chart, RSI starting to get up there. 4 hour has been up there, but no real sell signals yet either, right? Just kind of marching along and really accelerating right now. I had this as a trade, but I do have a longer term position on Stellar along with the other Coinbase names, Zcash, Cardano, just because, they were just ripe for kind of a longer term move, especially a little bit of front running and anticipation of a potential addition there. So liking Stellar here, definitely looks good. Had a little consolidation here, gave you a little bit of a secondary entry point and moving higher here today. How much is that since that breakout there? So another 7%, 8% here today. So still looking pretty good. 1 hour chart, look at those moving averages just moving along nicely. So no complaints on Stellar other than it is getting a little long in the tooth here. So, if I wasn't on it now, I'm not sure if I would chase it per se, but could keep going. So here's the dollar chart of Stellar, just kind of breaking right through resistance here. The level I was looking at here was right that 26 cent mark or so, and it's pushing right through that right now. Next level up is the closing basis here around that 28, 29 cents. So that's really the next big target. But again, a little extended on the daily charts, but again, no big sell signals yet. So very nice, good action. If you're on it, congrats. Has been a very nice move. Let's go to the next one here. Litecoin. So I'm going to do LTC Bitcoin. Another one I was watching for some outperformance versus Bitcoin to kick off the alts season. But this one has been marching up nicely versus Bitcoin. Not a huge outperformance, but over the past week, it's up about 10% versus BTC. Nice to see that when Bitcoin's moving higher. And this one, look at the big picture. I mean, maybe it's finding a low versus Bitcoin. Just not exactly breaking above resistance yet. I mean, it has a lot of work to do. There's going to be a lot of hurdles to overcome on the daily chart. There's a big resistance zone right there, but this is a good first step. See if it can continue to get that momentum going. On the daily chart, again, this was nice to see this little bit of a, I wouldn't call it a double bottom, but it put in a pretty good little bit of a low, tested this level twice. You highlight that for you guys. I mean, almost to the penny. You can see that's there, tested it twice, and then started this move higher. So good to see. Ultimately, though, that's a key support level that it's got to hold now and really start establishing this longer-term low. But so many of these names, I mean, let me zoom out and just show you. I mean, since May, right, and some earlier, just have taken a dive versus Bitcoin. And you can see here, I mean, Litecoin was one of the ones that got hit the least, down 57%. Some of the others were down 70%, 80%. And so it's nice to see them kind of bouncing off the lows. And I've said this personally, I think many of these alts have found a low versus Bitcoin and are putting in these lows. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to fully retrace and make new all-time highs. Some of them will, some of them won't. Many of them won't. But from a longer-term perspective, I've been pretty heavy in as far as my longer-term holds go since May, mostly Bitcoin, and just now recently over the last few weeks starting to transition heavier into some of these alts that are looking like they're putting in some pretty good lows. And again, this is, I'm taking a longer view. This is not my trading. This is more like looking 6 months, 9 months out type of thing. But we'll see if that plays out that way. So Litecoin looking pretty good. Let's go to Litecoin on the dollar chart here. Some of the key levels to be keeping an eye on that I've been watching here. Go to the dollar chart here. And again, had a nice little breakout, good secondary entry point here. Pointed this out yesterday and has been marching along nicely. Now let's see if it can clear this most recent high. How's that look on the RSI? Not too bad. Looks like it's about to break out there. So looks pretty good there from that perspective. And again, just marching up along these moving averages. So all in all, Litecoin's looking pretty good there. Let's see here. Cardano, another of the Coinbase potential additions. And here's what I like about Cardano. I've been watching the longer term chart here, and I was sharing this with the group earlier. I did a live stream earlier today, so my voice is going to be shot tonight. More tea. But I was watching this big wedge here at the lows, right? Just very tight range. And look at the breakout that we saw over the weekend. A lot of volume came in and starting to really push higher. So a nice break of this downtrend and on good volume really shows some conviction behind this move. Good to see that happening. And this one was one of those that I said that had that huge drop versus Bitcoin. So it has a lot of potential as far as going to the upside. I mean, even if you look at this most recent impulse leg, not the old highs, but from here down, right, it was down about 75%. So has had a massive drop versus Bitcoin and is seeing a good low being set here and finally starting to turn the corner. Now zoom in a little bit. What I was looking at here this weekend, a little bit of a cup and handle type of formation. This was really the early entry signal before it broke that downtrend. It was really breaking above this, broke out, pulled right back, and right now it's just marching higher. And again, another one that could potentially be added to Coinbase there. So has that going for it as well. But the bigger picture, still liking the way it's going and just has been very strong here the last couple of days. Looking at it from the dollar perspective, USDT on Binance, just now edging through some resistance here on the price level, right? There was some resistance that it was testing here today right around that 80-cent mark or 8-cent mark and just starting to push through. So very good action. I think it has more to go. Could it pull back temporarily? Sure could. I mean, it's been a strong move, but longer term on that daily chart, I think Cardano has a lot of potential. So definitely one I'm holding right now. Monero. Everyone's favorite privacy coin, Monero. Right? Right? No, it's not. Okay. Don't say dash. Don't say dash. So looking at Monero here, I'm going to clear that channel that I was watching. But Monero is breaking out of some nice resistance here today. Didn't even catch that one. Has been trending up nicely. I was looking at this level here. Basically, what is that? 17K or so. And pushed right through and just kind of little choppy action. Very, very noisy, kind of consolidating. Look at that 1 hour chart here, but holding above that support point. So broke out, holding up. If we go to that daily chart, just now starting to turn the corner. Nice little bit of a double bottom type of action there. If we did a measured move on that double bottom here, let me see, where does that take us? Take that to the neckline. I'm going to just go to the close and take a little bit more conservative point of view. And that takes you to basically where price went to today. Not that much higher, but there's a lot of resistance here on this one in terms of where it's going, right? So you can see this little zone is going to be kind of the area to clear, but looks good. Looks good near term. How's it look on the dollar? Narrow, breaking above that resistance there as well. So good action all around, just kind of sitting there. Some volume coming in here today. That 4 hour chart consolidation looks like it wants to get going again. So Verge. It's Verge. Verge gang here. Oh, the Verge gang is here. All right. All right, let's keep going. Tron. I'm going to start with the BTC pairs in case you're catching the pattern here. So looking at the BTC pair of Tron, again, another one where Look at that big base it's put in here. I mean, this thing bottomed out in August, like, most of these bottomed out August or September, but look at how flat and tight this has been going versus BTC. Just forming a nice accumulation zone. And a lot of these are looking ripe to break out here. A lot of volume coming in here, trying to push it higher. And today, just, steady climbing versus Bitcoin. How's it looking on the dollar? Tron, right up to some resistance here that I've been watching. So testing that, see if it can push through on that daily chart. It's right to that zone, has bounced right into that. So pretty good. You can see these moving averages are just now starting to cross back over. So we'll see if they can follow through and show some momentum. Now, Tron's been known to make those big pushes higher. So we'll see. This one's just trending nicely on that hourly. No complaints there. Let me see how the RSI looks. And it's still down here at the low, so definitely not extended on this hourly. No major divergence here showing up on this guy. So all in all, can't complain. It is pushing right into resistance, so that's going to be the next test right where it's at, see if it can break through. Let's hop back over to BTC real quick. I'm going to keep an eye on it during the stream and just see how it looks. I really want this guy to break out, and it's close. It's real close. It's trying. Keep going. We tend to get a little bit of action around the daily close, which is an hour away from now. So see if we can get any action on that one here today. I'm going to close this window. All right, so Tron was the last bit here on my list. Let me go through the list that you guys pointed out, and I'm going to start cycling through those quickly. Let me see what we got here. All right, so I'm just going to go down the list the way I wrote them down, no particular order, just the way I was catching them on the stream here. So looking at Aeon, daily charts, and what's the market cap on this guy? I mean, I know it's not wouldn't consider it a large cap, but so sub $100 million, barely. But still, look at the daily chart. I mean, just very flat, very tight, huge accumulation zone. Would be nice to see another candle like this with the volume. It looked like it wanted to get going here a couple weeks ago. If you look at that guy right there, that's what you want to see. Another one of those come through, start pushing it above range here. And that's really the level I'm watching. I've already got the chart marked here. It is starting to kind of reverse here a little bit today, but you can see it's still below the moving averages, and the moving averages are still inverted here on the daily chart. So I want to see that turn. And it wouldn't take a lot. They're just so flat and so tight that, if it starts to push through this resistance, then that'll look good. And that's really the level I'm watching. What is that? Basically, you call it 690 or so is really the level to be keeping an eye on. Near term, going to the hourly charts, maybe starting to turn the corner, kind of putting a little bit of a pause here. But again, this is the hourly chart. You're only talking the last 6 or 7 hours, so not exactly a trend just yet. But the 4-hour chart is showing some early signals. So see if we can get going. Wax. Now, Wax has been pretty strong here as of late. Let me zoom out to that daily chart on Wax. And look at this. Wax had that breakout a few weeks back. There was a conference going on. I know they were a sponsor. Look at where it came right back to. Pulled right back to the breakout point. Undercut it a little bit intraday. Closed right above. Nice little secondary entry point. And then just really started to turn the corner. And how far has it moved since then? I mean, just up another 24%. Wow. Very nice move on Wax. Interesting project, too. I like this project from a longer-term perspective. See if we can get some going. But if we look at the longer-term picture here, first resistance level was cleared here yesterday on some good volume, too. And kind of heading up to the next level now. Right now, it's about that 1,600 level, basically, in and around there. That's really the next key to watch and see if it looks like it's going to get there. That's going to be the next test there around that 1,600. Raven. Remember when everybody was talking about Raven? How's it looking these days? Raven still consolidating. Obviously had that massive run here. That is the daily chart. Was it like 200%, 300%? Basically almost 300. Has since pulled back like they all do. They kind of all pause, especially after a move that quick. But still consolidating here. See if it can hold this low. I mean, it looks like it's trying to find a little bit of a low here. Not exactly a bullish chart per se, especially not on the daily, right? That's kind of pausing and it's undercutting the 10 EMA right now. But that's really the level to be watching. If it holds this support, looks good. Ultimately, you'd like to see this kind of just sit tight, break above this range for the last couple of days. But not, you know, I mean, I'm not seeing any bullish signs yet. It's still very much in a downtrend, making lower lows and lower highs, other than may have found a near-term low around, what is that, 630? Call it 630 in and around there. Polymath, another one that's been pulling back here a little bit. So it's a good runner here last week and a half ago, and just kind of gave you a series of up legs. Very nice. I know a lot of the folks in the group were trading this one, but has since pulled back. And I was watching this level here. It looks like it undercut that here today. I was watching this to see if it could hold above this level on the pullback. Breaking below it, trying to bounce right back. But so far, moving averages are trending lower. They're inverted. So until that starts to turn the corner, I'm just waiting on those type of setups and can let them just consolidate and play out here a little bit more. Proof of authority. Let's see. I haven't looked at this chart in a while. Let me go to the daily chart here. Let's zoom way out here. Looking at the daily chart, nice little trend that it's been building here the last couple of weeks. I mean, you can see slowly grinding its way higher, and it looks like it's pulling right back to that trend line support right now. And so ideally, this is where you want to see it hold if it's going to maintain this broader trend. Going to that 4-hour chart, trying to reverse higher back into that, but it is bouncing into a little bit of resistance. So got to clear that first. And if it starts to clear that, what I'd be looking for is, you know, one of these bounces and then maybe a pullback, and then start setting these higher lows, right? Turn this pattern that it's been in right now. So it's trying here. Doing the rapid fire chart review. I haven't looked at any of these, so it's kind of the first look for me on a lot of cases. And I'm going through them fast, guys. Like if I'm, you know, when I actually go to make a trade and stuff, I don't just look at a chart for 5 seconds and then say, yeah, I'm going to go do it, buy it, sell it. So just keep that in mind. I do a little bit more in depth. I look at potential targets. I look at risk reward ratios. I look at a handful of things. So just keep that in mind. Substratum. You see here on the 4-hour chart, it's pretty much range bound here. You can see it's been in this channel for quite some time, bouncing back and forth. So you can see most recently it's putting in a little bit of a higher support. See if we can hold that, but still very much just kind of range bound. Going to that daily chart again, very flat, but these are nice. When they start doing this, I always pay attention to kind of the upper channel, because when they start to break out, you can get a pretty good move on these, but still just range bound. And the last couple of days, just trending lower here. See if it can hold this little bit of a support zone in the near term. 1-hour charts, you know, just not a lot of momentum here. It is trying to find a little bit of a low, but not exactly a strong bullish chart just yet. Phoenix. That big move earlier today out of nowhere. It was a 20% move almost. Kind of sitting tight here, consolidating. A little double toppy on that 15-minute chart, but this one has kind of pulled back from a very big move here earlier. You saw this a couple weeks back. What was that? Not even a week ago or so. And has since just been drifting lower, finding a little support right at these moving averages, and ideally that's where you want them to hold. So good to see. Smaller cap name, very volatile, but hey, if you can catch those pumps, man, that's nice. Ontology. Let me go to the dollar one on this one first, because this one was showing some signals earlier, sitting tight, trying to edge out above a little bit of resistance here right now. See if we can get this one going. On the 1-hour chart here, a little bit of volume coming in that last hour, but you know, this one's been lagging a little bit relative to some of the other names, right? I mean, if you look at the dollar, the dollar daily chart here, let me clear this line. You know, some of these other ones are trending higher, right? And this one's still kind of just drifting lower, living below these moving averages, trying to bounce here a little bit, finding a low maybe around that 158, 159 level. See if we can start to clear a little bit of resistance here. Ideally, though, I'd like to get this one back above these moving averages, show them inverting. So getting above that 177, 178 level would start to turn the corner, make it look a little bit more positive, and that's this resistance level here. But it is trying right now. Not exactly strong, but it's trying to form a little bit of a low there. All right, let's keep going. Faster I can get through some of these, we can do some more here before my voice gives out. VeChain. Oh, VeChain's breaking through some resistance here. Was pointing this one out because it has tried before. It's looking good. I said maybe this time. We saw it happen a couple weeks back. It had that big outside reversal. I did take a position on it then, got stopped out, just drifted lower, fizzled out, no follow through. Saw it happen again here yesterday. Big push higher, started pulling back, and I was thinking, okay, maybe this time it's going to start to turn the corner here. And it looks like it's gaining a little bit of momentum here. So good to see it trying to turn the corner there on the daily chart again, similar to Ant, just drifting lower, but this one now starting to edge above these moving averages. So see if we can get some momentum going on this one, but looking pretty good near term. 4-hour chart's looking positive, starting to change that pattern, maybe in the 4-hour chart, starting to make a higher low pattern. So good to see that. How's it look on the dollar chart? Very nice. Looks like it broke from that downtrend, and it's pushing right into that next resistance level, and looking good here. So nice. V-chain. Walton coin. Yeah, I was watching Walton here as it was consolidating near the highs and then just broke lower and just kind of came off the radar for me at that point. It was setting up nicely on the daily chart, sitting tight, you can see here, for about 5 days. And I was looking for some signals of trend continuation on this guy, and it just kind of broke lower and has so far been drifting down. So I'm going to wait until that really starts to turn the corner here and get back above some moving averages for now. But Walton is not quite there yet. We'll see how far it pulls back. Zilka just kind of sitting flat here for a few days. I was on a trade here and it was just like up and down, but hasn't done a whole lot. Let me clear that. But it's still holding up and just kind of consolidating. This one also channeling here a little bit. You can see the highs, the lows here, very much range bound. If we go to that daily chart though, the big picture is looking pretty nice from that perspective. Let me clear these lines for you guys. Another one that I think from a longer term perspective, putting in a very good low versus BTC. I mean, look at how flat that chart's gotten here. Like so many of these others that we just looked at here. And the volume patterns on this one I really like. Just showing some signs of accumulation. If you look at these big spikes, the big green bars there, just some good signs there. A lot of accumulation showing up as it puts in this really big low. So from a longer term perspective, I like it. Near term, just kind of sitting tight here right now, but look how far this guy dropped before kind of just flatlining here. Man, what's that? 80%. And again, like some of the others, this one bottomed out middle August and has just been sitting tight since then. And again, a lot of these are not going to fully retrace and make new all-time highs. So keep that in mind. Some of them will. Not all of them will, but even a bounce, right? Even bounces into like major resistance points is a massive move percentage-wise, right? You're talking 60, 70% in a lot of cases, if not more. And so from that perspective, I like that. Got a lot of potential in this one here, longer term. Let me see, going down the list. AE. Eternity. So one of the guys in the group pointed out this nice kind of cup handle type of pattern. This one showed up on the radar yesterday when it flashed this big alert, and big volume move. Couldn't close above this resistance, pulled right back, kind of consolidating right now, but I'm liking this one. Even a bounce up to the top of the handle resistance here, it's a good 20% move from here. So I'm liking this setup here with a relatively tight stop just below. Obviously, if you wanted to give it a wider stop, it would make sense to use the most recent swing low. But right now, I'm just playing things a little bit tighter, so I wouldn't, me personally, I'm not going with that wide of a stop on my trades. But I like the setup here. It looks good. Digibyte. Wasn't this one added recently to Bitfinex? That was the spike. That was the Bitfinex spike was right there and has so far fizzled the move out. Not a lot of follow through after that, as is often the case. We see the big spikes on exchange listings, but really the only one that's driving anything more than just a quick spike is Coinbase right now. Haven't seen a whole lot of recent ones. Binance to some extent, depending on the name, but they've got a lot of the major names already anyway. But this one is maybe putting in a little double bottom, but you want to see this thing start to reverse here. Found some support on that pullback, but you got to get some confirmation now, see if it can start to get going. Numiere, it's a name from yesteryear. This one has had some big moves. This is such a low volume name, though. It's really hard to trade, but can't complain. I mean, it's starting to sit tight here, making a series of higher lows, breaking above this guy here. Let me clear the lower line there. Would be pretty positive here because it's, you know, it's starting to trend higher. Where is it? Here we go. See, it's starting to kind of hold this line, making these higher lows, setting up here, but very volatile, lower volume name, big spike, big wicks. Really tough to get in on those. Ethos UX. Could you do Cardano Syndicator? I'll do Syndicator. Did Cardano already. We'll take a look at some of these others. Siren, I'll add that to the list. BTC is pushing higher. Okay, let's go take a quick look. I'll come back to Ethos here in a sec, guys. Yeah. Pushing higher slowly. I want to see this guy close above that. Again, about 40 minutes to the daily close. See if we can get pushed right through here. So far, looking good here. I'm liking what I'm seeing. All right, so looking at Ethos here, just has drifted lower. I was liking this one here a couple weeks back. It was setting up here. You can see it was kind of setting these higher lows. Did have a little bit of a breakout right there. Pushed higher, consolidated again. I was looking for a follow through on that move and just kind of drifted lower, fizzled out. And look at this. And this is a good example of this. Prior support becomes new resistance. And this applies to so many charts. So just kind of keep this in mind. I mean, this will help you with kind of bounces into resistance. You can see it pulled right back. Look where it bounced right into that resistance, pulled back, bounced right into resistance twice, double topped, and just has drifted lower since then. So right now, not exactly the bearish one or the bullish pattern here, but we'll see where the low finally lands on Ethos. OMG is pushing good. Let's see here. Oh, nice little reversal here in the last hour. Let me go to the hourly chart here. Still holding the moving averages, but this one has been pushing higher a little bit on this daily chart. Cleared some resistance, but has some hurdles to overcome back here. If you look at this little zone, right, it's right smack in the middle of that. I mean, near term, it's positive, right? Good volumes coming in. Volume is increasing as this guy breaks through. It's what you want to see, but is right in the middle of that resistance level. But it's looking pretty good. I mean, holding these moving averages, broke out here today. Was one I pointed out in yesterday's video. I think it was just edging out when I was looking at that one yesterday, either here or here, one of those two. But still looking nice, just kind of marching along. It's good that it cleared this little zone right here, this near term, holding above that. But this one's just going to be one to start stair-stepping. On the bigger picture, though, another one that I like from a longer-term kind of perspective here, just the big chart on the daily. Let me clear all this here for us. Looking like it's trying to put in a nice low versus BTC here again. Hasn't confirmed yet, right? It'll look better if it starts to get above some of this back here that, you know, the September highs, but starting to look good on this kind of longer term perspective. Did I skip IOTA? I didn't mean to. Oh, wait. IOTA was 12. I didn't skip it. I'll get to it. I only did the top 10, and then I just jumped to your guys' list. You keep skipping IOTA. Poor IOTA. Well, the good news is I do have a position in IOTA. How's it looking? How's IOTA looking these days? All right. Still going. Still going. Not too shabby. IOTA's looking pretty good here. So just marching along nicely, liking the momentum. And again, full disclosure, I am holding this one along with a few other trades. But, man, IOTA, pretty good on this guy here. Next level I'm watching on this, let me highlight that here for us. It's kind of that little 53, 53.5 level. See if it could bounce into that. That's not too far away. That's only another 3%. So marching along nicely. And it's given us, a few secondary entry points. These are nice, right? You had this little bit of a pullback here. And then yesterday, really consolidated. And this is what I was liking. You get this very tight, very symmetrical type of pattern, right? And just broke right out. Pulled right back, gave you another chance to hop on. And it's just kind of been marching along. So still trending nicely. Can't complain. No real big sell signals yet. Good volume coming in on that guy. See how I can keep going. Let's see how IOTA BTC looks. I'm going to do this on Finex here. And yeah, that's pushing through nicely. Looking for a bounce into some of this resistance here on the BTC pair. Where were we? AGI. Singularity. Not on this one here. Let's go to another exchange. Here we go. And this had a big move, but still trending nicely on the daily chart. Big wick yesterday. I think it was up like 40% from the breakout points. But yesterday had a big push higher. Let me see how high that was. 25%. Yeah, 40% at the top of the wick. Has since pulled right back and landed right at these moving averages. So that's ideally where you want to see this one hold if it's going to continue higher. The good news is volume has been light on that pullback. So not a ton of selling. That was a big wick here, but you can't complain on that. I mean, it was a 40% move, and it's not unusual to see some of that profit taking. Pulling right back. See if we can get going again. Holding that moving average right now. Poet. Looked at this one in a while. Let me clear some of these lines. I know it was a mover for a while, but kind of just fizzled out here. This is the 4-hour chart. Let me go to the daily. Pulled right back to these moving averages. See if it can hold right now. And it was showing some accumulation here too, right? You've seen some of these little bit of volume spikes coming in as it was pushing higher. The good news is the pullback has been on relatively light volume, below average for sure on the daily charts. And so this is where you want to see it hold right back to this low here. So ideally, that's where it needs to start reversing, and it's trying to, but 4-hour chart, moving averages are still drifting lower. They're inverted. Want to see that picture turn there. WAN chain. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm reading the comments. Trying to keep up. Try to keep up here, Node. Come on, man. I had some coffee. I don't know what the problem is. All right. WAN chain. This is what I'm looking at, WAN chain. Just this rising support trend line. Want to see that hold. It's pulled right back to that right now. Basically, today's low is touching that line. And so ideally, this is where you want to see it hold. And if you zoom in a little bit near term, let me zoom out, you can see it's starting to break trend here a little bit, or testing it, really. It's right at the line there on the downtrend. And so if we can start to turn the corner here, break above this downtrend, that'll look nice. I'd like to see like a pause here, maybe a secondary pullback, and then getting going. So definitely want to keep an eye on here. Looks pretty good. See if we can turn the corner finally. Stratus. Not a lot of follow through. It looked like it wanted to get going again after that big, that was with the partnership pump. And that's another sell into strength type of candles. When you see those announcements, those news kind of driven things, I definitely like to. I just happen to be lucky on that one and had already been on a trade when this thing pumped and got in on the breakout here. But nice little move. But since then has just kind of drifted lower highs, lower lows. Maybe finding a little bit of support here. So we'll see if it can kind of hold these lows right now. And again, like some of these others, the thing to keep an eye on here is if it starts to break the downtrend, starts to turn the corner. It looked like it wanted to back here, right? Right here, it looked like it was about to get going, but it pulled right back. So there's another test. See if we can get going again. AE. Hey, we covered this one already, didn't we? Yes, we did. I had it on my list twice. That's how much I like it. Been on AE twice. So Link was a prior big runner, had already had a huge move off the lows. The daily chart's not looking bad. Near term was showing some sell signals, and so it's not surprising to see it continue to pull back here a little bit. But look at how strong this one was again. This one bottomed in July, so this was one of the early movers, and went up 260% or so before seeing a little bit of a pause here. We zoom in here a little bit. This is what I was looking at. It was a big volume reversal here a couple days ago. Let me clear some of this stuff. You can see that spike right there. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? big spike, highest volume of this move, right? I mean, that was the biggest volume so far, right at the tops. Usually that's a big red flag for me when I see those kind of attempts to push higher. That's just a lot of distribution. At best, you're going to see a little bit of a pause. And that's what we saw. We saw this pullback, a little bit of a bounce attempt, kind of formed a little bit of a double top in many ways here, and just kind of broke the neckline, has since drifted lower. And so the level to be watching on this guy is, can it hold this support around that 7,000 level? That's really the next big support level on the link. Again, the daily chart doesn't look that bad. It's just a kind of a normal pullback following a pretty strong move. Zcash. Zcash. I'm liking the Zcash here. Let me go to Zcash dollar on Finex. Again, another one that I was watching here for a trade, has hit the target, still going. This one does have the Coinbase potential momentum behind it. But even without that, I mean, look at the volume at the lows there, then volume coming in here today as it breaks through resistance. So very strong day for Zcash. Good to see that. It's up about 6%. Nice to see, testing some resistance right now, trying to break through that zone really, but has been a good strong mover here in the last couple of days. Again, offered a good little secondary entry point here as it pulled right back. Broke out from some near-term resistance, right? This is what I was watching here on Zcash. That $119 level, pushed higher, pulled right back, held that level, and then just really had that move today. So good action on Zcash. How's it looking on the Bitcoin chart? The second best privacy coin after Monero. Okay, now I'm really getting the debate going. Zcash, what's your order of privacy coins? Top 4, if you had to name them, what's your order? In case you're wondering, my top 2 are Monero and then Zcash. All right. I'm going to keep going. Sorry, I just took a bite out of this delicious chocolate chip cookie that smelled like heaven, sitting next to me, staring at me for the last hour. Couldn't resist it. It smells delicious. All right. Okay, sorry about that. Don't want to speak with my mouth full here. All right, ELA. So you know what I'm going to do is cycle through some of these here. ADX. Monero's first. Monero and Dash. Verge fam. Monero Dash. Zcoin. I like Zcoin. Sumo. Verge. Pivx. Monero. Let's take a look at Pivx, actually. Well, let me do ADX because somebody asked for ADX. We'll take a look at this one here first, and then we'll do Pivx. Nice little daily trend here. Again, this is a volatile name. ADX is a tough one. Look how long these wicks are. Probably nice for some trading. I think we mentioned this one in the last live stream. It had this big move, but just tough to play. You can see it just has so far pulled right back in, kind of fizzled out a little bit. Jake in the house. We'll do Augur for you, man. Everything will go to the moon in 10 years. Oh, man, 10 years? I don't want to wait 10 years. Can it just go to the moon this year? In 2 years? I'll take 2 years. How's 3 years? Pivx has been marching up nicely. Very quietly, too. Has had a good move already. Wow. Pivx from the lows. Pivx is up about 56%. That's it. Just 56%. Nice little move on Pivx. It is bumping right into some resistance now, though. So we actually cleared it here a little bit. Well, cleared it, pulled right back in. See if it can take that level out. But wow, nice little move. What's the market cap on Pivx these days? $75 million. 75 million. Not bad, considering at one point it was, I don't want to be mean. Everything did this. It was almost 800 billion at one point. Wow. Pivx. But yeah, nice little move off the lows here, bouncing higher. Is this any kind of fib level that it's retraced? Not even. Wow, the 382 is still way up here. These guys got a lot of room to run if they wanted to. Zen, Zcoin. A lot of Zcoin. I like Zcoin here. That's good. Monero, Dash. You know, Dash is often touted as a privacy coin. No offense to you Dash fans. I do own a little Dash, by the way, but I just don't see it as a privacy coin. They're kind of moving more towards like, I think their branding is that's Dash, right? Digital cash and less privacy. But you read articles and stuff, and it's always like, oh, Dash is a privacy coin. Anyway, we don't need to get the debate going here. We're just looking at some charts. All right, let's keep going down the list here. I'm going to do a few more. Let me go through the list. I went through the list that you guys had. So 0x, I'll add that. Go through here. 0x. Jake wanted to look at Augur. We'll take a look at that guy. Oh, I wanted to point out Nano. There was a few that I was looking at earlier. Nano was looking pretty good here. All right. Cool. Let's keep going here, guys. And we'll cycle back through. I know some of you guys are joining late. There's some requests for like Neo and a handful of other names. So I will cycle back through a handful of the top names and recap on Bitcoin and some of the big caps, Bitcoin Cash, Ripple, before we wrap it up. So not here. Here we go. Not REC, sorry. Here we go. We'll get it. We'll get there. So here's the daily chart. Again, this one too has been slowly, very quietly kind of moving up. And I've seen it come across the alerts from time to time. I haven't done anything with it, but it's it's up about 20%, at one point up 25%, and still has room to go. Just kind of marching along, pulling back to these moving averages. The big resistance level that I'm watching is up here, 25.75, 25.70, and around there. That's going to be the first test. That's this prior low, bouncing into that so far. If we go to the 4-hour chart, again, it's not as big cap, so the volume there is a little tougher to see. Pulling back here, let's see if it can turn the corner here. Got to get back above these moving averages. So I'd like to see this guy get back above, what, 23.15 or so, in and around there. Just a steady climber, though, not too shabby there. 4-hour charts moving up. 0x. How did we forget about 0x? So 0x kind of consolidating following the big Coinbase run since pulling back. Not unusual. I mean, a lot of these kind of pump into that, and then the announcement date is kind of the peak, and often, usually the case there. Pulled back, bouncing, but you can see it's just drifting lower. On that daily chart, starting to break below moving averages. They're starting to invert again, so not what you like to see. The downward momentum is in play here on this guy. Nano, looking at Nano earlier, nice little setup here as it's trying to break above some resistance here. What I was looking at is this most recent downtrend that it's been in, starting to break that, but it still needs to clear this horizontal price resistance, right around that, call it 30.60 level or so. And it's testing that here a few times. It's kind of hard to see. There's some wicks that are touching the line there. But if you go to the daily charts, again, longer term downtrend still very much there. But if we can start to break above that, get above those moving averages, that'll really start to turn the corner on this guy here. Selfkey. I've not looked at that one yet. Let's take a look at Selfkey. It's one we've looked at in the past here. Let me clear this, sorry. Clear the lines, clear the squiggles. Too many lines. Yeah, smaller cap name, so you'll get the wicks, you'll get the big volume spikes. What's the market cap on this guy here? Is it the right one? Nope. $18 million market cap, only trades $2.6 million a day. The definition of a small cap. But it is looking pretty good here. I mean, breaking out a little bit here versus some resistance. You can see a couple days ago, big spike, pulling right back. So far, holding up. So maybe a good secondary entry point, common throwback right to that breakout point. We'll see if we can get going again, but not too shabby there. Decred. This was the Binance spike when they added it finally. And look at that, just fully retraced that whole move, almost fully retraced. Not quite, but basically fully retraced that whole move. So, I mean, it's just kind of been stair-stepping its way lower. Moving averages are back under, right? Price is back under that on the daily chart. On the 4-hour chart, I mean, it's trying to turn here, but we've seen this before, right? You saw that spike. And so got to wait until it starts making this higher lows, in my opinion, but give it the benefit of the doubt, right? The uptrend in place. Kind of fully retraced that whole move. Decred. All right, let me catch up on some of these guys here. Sorry about that. QuantStamp. You know, I was liking QuantStamp, but it just fizzled out here. It was looking pretty good. I was watching this potential setup on the 4-hour chart. Little ascending triangle base was forming right there. You can see that run up, pause, consolidation just starting to really narrow, and then it broke lower, and the setup was done. So didn't do anything with it until it turns a corner. But this was really what I was watching, and just never played out. On the daily chart, starting to break below moving averages as well. So until that turns the corner, I'm not going to do anything with that one just yet here. Oh, so the ETF thing, yeah, that was not the final review date. That was the you're correct. That was the comments, right, to come in. So we shouldn't expect any ETF news this week. Could we do OMG? We did OMG. We did NEO. Let me go through some of the big cap names here quickly, and then we'll cycle back here. All right. Bitcoin at 6,500. Well, not on Coinbase. That's really the one I'm looking at here, but looking good. There's on Bitstamp. There's Coinbase. Testing that zone right now, but still marching along higher, looking positive. Really nice that it pulled right back here yesterday and has since been bouncing off of that level. Now we want to see it follow through and break above range here a little bit. I know there was some comment earlier about it is a bearish divergence, little double top if this doesn't break through. Valid point, but it's hard to say until it actually starts to pull back, because right now you can't really say that that's the top. It's not unusual to see the RSI pull in a little bit during these consolidations, and then when they start to run up again, you know, the old high is still below the prior high, but that's because it's given room to run now, right? So the price could start moving again and gives the RSI some room to run to the upside. So I wouldn't necessarily call that a divergence just yet. Now, if this was a higher high and the RSI was lower, then that's a good divergence at that point. But still looking good all around. No complaints. Looks like it wants to push through. Wouldn't you guys just go out and buy like 300 BTC here real quick so we can just push this guy through? Not even that much. I'm not asking like a 10,000 Bitcoin buy. Just 300, 500. All right, let's keep going. We did Raven Coin already. We'll cycle through some of the other ones here first, and then I'll start coming back to a handful of others. Hopefully I don't lose my voice by then. Let's see. EOS pushing higher, breaking through, looking good. Bitcoin Cash still going. Our next target is that 650 mark, 655. Pretty close. Had a nice little breakout today. A lot of volume coming in. Again, that's the fork. Cardano starting to edge out, pushing right into resistance right now. Daily chart, I really like it. I think this has room to run. Icon hasn't quite had that reversal yet. Still living below moving averages. I think it'll have its day again. So definitely keep an eye on it. Near term, the 4-hour chart trying to maybe turn the corner here. So looking pretty good. If it starts to break above this level, that'll look positive. Make a little bit of a higher low, higher high there. NEO. Looking at NEO, going to that daily chart here. Again, just now starting to turn the corner. Moving in sympathy with some of these other names. Looking positive. Pretty strong day today. Had this pullback, breaking above range here, starting to edge higher. If we zoom in a little bit, go to that 1-hour view. These are the type of pullbacks you want to look for when they have that little break above trend. Kind of gives you that early signal that it wants to get going again. See if we can keep pushing through here on this daily chart, though. It's bumping right into resistance. A lot of these names are, right? So Not all of them have cleared yet. A lot of them are just bouncing right into that. That's really going to be the next test. OMG pushing into resistance here today, starting to edge out a little bit. Saw some volume coming in, but so far holding the moving averages on the daily, or the 4 hour, excuse me, as well as the support point, the breakout point. Quantum seeing a little bit of action here in the last couple of hours. See if we can get going finally. Going to that daily chart, that 415 range in and around there is really the kind of the zone to be watching there on Quantum. Litecoin moving higher. Nice to see that outperformance. IOTA we already talked about. Ethereum pushing higher, outperforming Bitcoin. Good to see. We'll support the alts. Stellar is looking lumens. All right, let's keep going. Zcash. All right. So we kind of we've covered most of these bigger cap names here. Let's go through a few other things here real quick. See if there's anything popping up that we didn't cover. Nem is on the move. Ethereum Classic was having a pretty good day today. Dragon, power pivot on Dragon. Ripple, OMG, Siacoin. See here, Nem. Let's go take a look at that guy. Nem is on the move, showing a little bit of action there. Nice little bit of a breakout from this consolidation. Good volume coming in, so not too shabby. Can't complain. Again, the daily chart, look at this one. Just big, flat base here at the lows. Trying to get going like so many of these. Now, NEM's kind of, I mean, it's really the what do you call it? The supply that keeps this one here near the top of the list. But if you look at the trading volume, right, it's definitely not near the highs. I mean, it's trades $6 million a day. You compare that to some of these other names that are double, triple, way more than that, right? Hundreds of millions. So it's in the upper cap name, but I really wouldn't consider it a kind of a large cap name because of that. It's mostly supply. But hey, near term, good action on NEM. Ethereum Classic. You guys don't love Ethereum Classic anymore? Come on. I always used to get requests for Ethereum Classic. Nice push on that guy today. Look at that. A lot of volume coming in. Outperforming Ethereum. Let's see, what's the Ethereum Classic ETH chart look like? Yeah, kind of just sitting par, holding up. We did Icon, we did Bitcoin Cash, we did, Lisk. Nobody asked for Lisk. If you did, I missed it. Apologize. A lot of comments coming through. Looking at Lisk here, trying to turn the corner. Had a pretty good day yesterday, pulling back. Still holding above the daily 10 EMA. Let's see if we can get going on this 4-hour chart. Maybe a secondary entry point on this pullback. Maybe. Somebody asked for ARC. Arc's been a tough one. Every time it looks like it wants to get going, just kind of fizzles out, pulls back here a little bit, breaking below moving averages. So not a good looking one just here. POTS, low volume. It's really hard to do any kind of analysis on those charts. I mean, man, why does it look like that? It trades 4 million. Tough to, I don't know why it's pulling up that way. I apologize. Siacoin. A little bit of a reversal here today at the lows. Kind of pushing in, pushing back up here. I think this was on the alerts. What was the alert? Power pivot off that low, yeah, at 99. So kind of signaling that little bit of a reversal there. Daily chart, though, you know, it's not too bad. It did look like a little bit of a double top here. Did hold support so far. So that's really what you want to see, right? If it holds off of this and starts to bounce, good. But that's really the key level, right where it reversed here today. OST. Big wick here today on OST. A lot of volume coming in. Let's see. Smaller cap name as well. Yeah, the low sat names. Thanks for pointing that out. All right, so we did, let me see, Neo, oh, Siren. Did we do that one? I think we did. Maybe, maybe not. Oh, they asked for about this one in the private stream. This one was just breaking out. Nice little breakout here. Look at this. Push right back. Look at this little cup kind of handle type pattern. Boom. Bust right through. Last couple days up about 50%. Nice. Looks like they're going taking pre-orders on their phone. But look at where it's bouncing right into. So just kind of make note of that. It is approaching a key resistance level. And you're seeing a little bit of a wick there, a little pause. But near term, still holding up. You just sold it. All right. Hey, no one ever broke. No one ever went broke taking profit. 50% gain. Okay, guys. Well, I'm thinking that's going to be it. Did we do Dash? No, we didn't do Dash. We'll do Dash here a little bit, a couple more, and then we'll just call it a day. Nearing the close of the day, we'll take a quick look at BTC, and then we will wrap it up. But thanks for being here today, guys. Appreciate the comments. Appreciate your likes and support. Looking at Dash here, BTC still looking pretty nice. Had this little bit of a breakout, not a bunch, but volume was certainly there when it pushed higher. So that's good to see. Clearing some resistance. Nice little ascending type of pattern here on the BTC pair. So breaking out, see if we can get some momentum going on that daily chart. Certainly turning the corner here. Little bit of resistance that it's approaching right now. Let me pull that down a little bit. So that's where it's at. That's where the wick ended here today as well. So I'd like to see that guy push through, but good volume certainly in the last few days as this guy gets going. Quick look at BTC again here. Bitcoin, as we enter the close, 7 minutes left to the close here. It's right at the upper end of that range here. We'll see if we can break through. Volume has been good today. Last couple of days, volume has been really good here. So good to see that above average volume here today. And this one's ripe for a little bit of a push higher, a little breakout there. Hourlies are looking healthy. Good volume coming in, but certainly don't want to get complacent. Markets are strong. The sentiment has changed here the last couple of days. Good to see that. But just remember, these markets are quick. They turn quickly. So, I'm usually moving the stops up or booking some gains along the ways on my trading just because by the time you see the big reversal, usually you've given up a little bit of the gain already there. So don't necessarily need to wait to the last minute. But all in all, looking pretty good. The BTC daily close just on the charts here. It's going to roll over to a new candle here in about 5 minutes. So all in all, looking good. ETH to hit 240. Let me go back to ETH real quick. I'll go to the dollar. 232 was kind of my next target. If I can push through, it's bumping right into resistance right now around that 220 level, 219, and see if we can go above that. Next target, 232 is what I'm looking at for ETH. Still looking strong. There was a lot of volume here earlier today, but it held the moving averages, so kind of negating that here. Still looking pretty good. A little divergence. You can argue that there's a small divergence showing up, but price is still moving. So all in all, looking pretty good there. EOS. I'll cycle back to EOS real quick. I do like EOS here. I'm actually holding a position on EOS and pushing through my first target, 571-ish, going to the next one, 585. See how that can keep going here. The chart that it really was watching on EOS was the BTC chart. That breakout out of this range. And I'm looking at first target on BTC here, which aligns pretty closely with the USD target. So that's going to be the next test, the next resistance, but can't complain. Just kind of marching along nicely, higher lows. And a lot of these are doing that. But I'm always mindful of the potential volatility, the reversal that is just all too common in this space. So just make note of that, guys. But still looking pretty good there. Stay live. BTC is about to blow. It'll probably move like 5 minutes after I call it a live stream. Not the case. 5 o'clock, guys. I got to go, man. I've been trading all day. I'm tired. 2 live streams. Time to hit the gym. I'm going to take a quick break off of the crypto stuff here real quick. Let me cycle through some of the stock market. It's going to be interesting to see how the market reacts tomorrow with elections kind of playing out. You know, there's like the wheat stocks, for example, that we're moving today. Potential legislation that'll change there. Maybe some new states legalizing it. That could boost them. Keep in mind, they are bouncing right into some resistance right now, bouncing into 50 EMAs on the daily charts here. Let me show you guys what I'm looking at. And so I'm keeping an eye on them here. Mostly have just been day trades for me in terms of some of these names, but they're bouncing right into some resistance. So have had some strong moves, but it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. This one's got earnings here in a couple of days. Looking at the overall market, you know, bouncing off the lows, kind of expected. You know, for a while there, I mean, I was talking about some bear market action, but then here in the last week, it was like, I can't tell you how many YouTube videos I've seen of people coming out with, you know, economic collapse and how to, you know, bear markets and all that fun stuff. And it's like, okay, it's like, we've already had the big downdraft. CNBC everybody was getting bearish and all that. So we're bouncing and we, you know, expected to see a little bit of a bounce. So we're starting to see that. How far the bounce goes is anyone's guess. Overall, longer term, I'm still a little bit bearish, right? But I have been playing on the upside as this thing has bounced. So you can see the last few weeks, nice reversal. We'll see how high that goes. There's the NASDAQ sitting right at the 50 EMA on the weekly. There's the small caps. That's been my trade of choice in terms of the momentum to the downside as well as to the upside. So we'll see. AMD had a big move today. I was lucky enough to have caught the pump on the Amazon partnership. And yes, you sell into those moves. Apple breaking lower. Looks ugly. Amazon breaking lower. Looks ugly. So we'll see. Tesla. All right. The metals, depending on what the dollar does following election. Watching gold here. Gold's bounced right into some key resistance. See if it can break through. Same with the miners, right? They were bouncing back, but their big picture is still bearish. This is just a little bit of a bounce, but we'll see what happens with the metals and with the dollar following today's elections here in the U.S. for those of you that follow that. But here's the dollar index. See if this doesn't turn into a little bit of a double top. If it does, starts to roll over, this will be bullish for gold and some of the miners. All right, so there's my non-crypto market recap for the day. Bitcoin is edging higher on this Coinbase chart, looking pretty good as we flip the calendar over to a new daily candle on the chart. Positive action so far, so good. So I like what I'm seeing. All right, guys. Well, that's gonna do it. What election result would be best for the stocks? Man, I'm not smart enough to know. And to be honest, I haven't really been following it a whole lot, other than maybe a few key legislature. Generally, my guess is if the Republicans remain in control, the stock market will bounce stronger and look better than if it's a mixed seats, because Democrats are in control of the House or the Senate or one of the two. Then you're going to have a little bit of contention, a little bit of stalling action, unfortunately, right? Because politicians don't work with each other anymore. They just fight and vote the party line. So you'll see some gridlock, but who knows? Maybe the market will like that. I'm not sure. BTC. All right, guys. I hate to cut it short, but I feel my voice kind of losing here a little bit. So thank you guys for being here. Appreciate you guys as always. And I will catch you all in the next one. Let's hope this market stays green. Take care, everyone.